again. Eric Padden here, and on this video we're going to be discussing the manipulation that's been going on in the precious metals market. Most of you are probably aware by now that it's no longer a rumor. It's been proven fact that there's been serious manipulation going on for many years in the precious metals market, as well as many other commodities markets. However, it's come to light recently that there's basically at least, they can prove at least since 2005, possibly even longer, that there's been via the ETFs that both JP Morgan and HSBC have put out there. What they're doing is via those ETFs, SLV and GLD, they're basically flooding the markets with millions and millions of ounces of silver and gold that simply do not exist in physical form. And so when you look out there, for example, in silver, what's happened is recently the silver is starting to come up in value because that manipulation has now been exposed, and the physical reality of the the gold to silver ratio, as far as what's available right now above ground, is starting to set in. And in some of my other videos, why silver, why now, we can look at the specifics. For this particular video, we're going to be talking about the manipulation and how that affects the market and why they do it. The banksters, as I like to call them, that are kind of a network that goes way back to Europe, and they've basically kind of been chasing us since we left Europe initially, and I don't know how much you know about the history of America and the real reasons that we came over here, the Pilgrims, to create this. But bottom line is, we were running, the reason we were trying to get away from them wasn't just the taxation, but in the early days of the colonies, for example, they wanted to create a currency that was not a debt-based currency. And what they did is they actually did that. The colonial strip that Benjamin Franklin and the boys created was actually creating a situation where there was a very healthy economy. And the European bankers found out about this and said, hey, if we let this go, they're going to build this incredibly healthy economy. If they don't have to pay interest on the money from its initial creation, they could have this prosperous economy, and that's not good for us. So basically they fought their way in and ended up eventually getting in, and back and forth through history now. On another video I'll elaborate on this, but there's been about 6 times that the people have fought back and got control. Whether it was Benjamin Franklin initially with the colonial script, later on you had Andrew Jackson, who fought the bankers and got rid of them for a while, but they always worked their way back in. And so it's these banksters, as I call them, that are the ones that are running the Federal Reserve banks, that are basically raping the world of the wealth. Because what's happening is that when that money is created, it's then, whether it's through stimulus or anything that they do to create money nowadays via the Federal Reserve, it's created at interest, which means we're paying interest from the moment it's created. And so this corrupt institution has a lot of ways of manipulating the markets out there to create money. And what they don't want is, they don't want gold and silver to go up too much in value, because then people lose confidence in their fiat debt-based currencies. And so that's really what this has been all about, is keeping the gold and silver prices down, because historically, whenever the precious metals go up in value, it's because they're at the end of a cycle, a debt cycle. And you'll notice, because they control the school systems and the history books and the media, we're not educated to know that these debt-based currencies, every single one of them without exception, there's over 3,800 of them on record, and every single one of them crashes. It's not if, it's just when. And so that's the reality. I'm going to go into more specifics on that debt-based currency on another video, so you might want to educate yourself on that if you don't understand it yet. But in this particular video, what had actually happened was, the rumors had been slipping out for years that there was manipulation going on, and a lot of insiders knew about it. They would try and follow whatever JP Morgan or HSBC did, because you were guaranteed to make money. If you shorted it when they did, you were going to make money. They were always flooding the market, which of course brought down the value. So they would short it and make millions, even billions of dollars doing that. Of course, the average guy that thought, hey, I'm going to invest in gold and silver, that's a good thing, he was getting killed. And that was the whole idea: discourage people from investing in gold and silver, and of course shorten it allowed them to make money when the market went down. And so they were doing this for years and years and years. Well, guess what? The letters didn't do enough. Letters that were sent didn't do anything. Sending letters to the CFDC, they didn't want to hear about it. But of course, they're all getting paid off, right, as usual. But what happened was, a gentleman named Andrew McGuire, who used to actually work for Goldman Sachs, was leaking out information. And finally, what had to happen was, Bill Murphy from GATA basically just surprised everybody at the CFDC by, on live television, just spilling this out. I've got the video on my blog, so you might want to check it out. It's kind of interesting. They're all completely caught off guard. But what that did is it exposed it. Enough people saw it that it had to be taken seriously. And so interestingly enough, after that exposure, the markets have started to now balance out. Because once again, if you can eliminate all that paper, okay, and the problem with that is they got basically things bent the rules to the point where they could create gold and silver, which of course is a physical metal, as if it were, you know, paper fiat currency. If you're aware of how fractional reserve banking works, there's only, for money that's created, and I'll do a whole nother video on that, how your signature is what creates the money you get from your bank for your mortgage or your auto loan. It's not like you think where a depositor A gives them money and then they loan that money out to you. No, your signature creates that loan out of thin air. And then fractional reserve banking multiplies that. Bank A that creates your loan, they get to loan 90% of that to Bank B. Bank B loans 90% out to Bank C, and it keeps going all the way down through fractional reserve banking until the currency, whatever's created, whether it's through stimulus, loans, whatever, the creation is multiplied by 10. Okay, and this is how your dollar becomes worth less and less and less. And so, bottom line, the what's happened in the silver ETF or gold ETF markets is kind of like that concept, but on steroids. Instead of just multiplied by 10, they were literally selling 99 ounces of paper, what I call phantom silver, for every 1 ounce of physical silver that actually existed. And when the market first crashed in '08, interestingly enough, you were able to look at $9. It got as low as $9 an ounce silver on paper. If you were willing to accept an ETF SLV, you could pay $9 an ounce. However, at that very same time, if you wanted physical silver that you could hold on to, that you could store, that you knew was yours, you were paying $35 an ounce on eBay for physical silver. Because once again, when there's uncertainty, all that money looks for precious metals. So you've never had as much money out there as you have right now. And what happens is, all that money, when it gets scared, wants to find a safe place. Well, historically, whenever these debt-based currencies crash, where does all that money end up going? Exactly, precious metals, right? Other commodities, food, basics. Now, what's going to happen is, look at this visual. I like this visual. You've got basically an Olympic-sized pool is your gold market, right? You've got a kitty-sized pool is your silver market. You've got an ocean of money out there. It runs all over the globe. More money than ever before has been created through these fractional reserve banking, Federal Reserve, debt systems, basically fiat currencies being created at a faster rate than ever before in the history of mankind. And so all that scared money looks for a safe place to go. And if you can visualize that ocean of money trying to squeeze into this little gold market and this little teeny silver market, that ocean of money, visualize these pools with like little clear glass walls on them. What do you think happens when all that money floods into those little pools? Just shoots right up, doesn't it? And so I think that's what's going to happen. And if you're positioned in gold or silver, physical gold or silver, you're going to be in a position to really ride that wave and help you come out of the other side of this crashing of these debt-based fiat currencies around the world in a position of strength. I believe you're going to have to move into a new currency. If you're trying to move into that out of the $1 million or whatever it was in your 401k, it could be created, $1 trillion. They had, $1 trillion notes in Zimbabwe last year that couldn't buy you a loaf of bread because they printed so much, okay, last year. Okay, if you look in as recently as the 30s, what happened in Germany with hyperinflation? Whenever they come to the end of their debt cycles and they print too much currency, it just devalues the currency. And at first you can buy stuff with it, but as they lose their discipline and make more and more, that currency becomes worth less and becomes worth less until eventually it's worthless. It happens every single time. It's not if, it's when. And so it's all interrelated. Okay, the manipulation to keep the markets down as far as precious metals was so people don't wake up and lose confidence in their debt-based fiat currencies, which they know are in the final cycle. I'm going to leave you this little thought of how and I'll elaborate more on this on other videos, but bottom line, you're coming to the end of a situation where all the money they can scrape together via taxes, via the new debt. We just raised the debt ceiling so we could get a new credit card. And that might be a good way to appreciate the scenario we're in. Let's look at it like this. You're an individual, right? And you're getting in debt, you lost your job, whatever the case. You've got a couple credit cards, okay? And pretty soon your credit cards are maxed. You can still make the minimum payments on them, right? Now what happens if you still got good credit, you're going to apply for credit card C, okay? And then credit card C now gets to pay the payments on A and B, right? Of course, you got to take out the cash advances, pay hyper, interest rates and so on. But bottom line is, if you can keep the credit up, you might get credit card C, D, E, F, whatever. Bottom line is, you'll end up taking the new, credit that you've got and paying off the old debt. In effect, you're using the new debt to pay off the old debt. There comes a point where you're banging up against the top of what the interest is. Okay, eventually all the money you can scrape together, all the cards you can use, all the resources you can drain, don't pay the interest on the debt. Well, what happens when that happens as an individual? You're going bankrupt, right? Well, company, you're going bankrupt, right? Country, guess what? You're going bankrupt. Currency, it crashes, it becomes worthless. You got to start all over again. The only good news about this situation is we're going to end up having a situation where we can finally, if we can get rid of these banksters once and for all, we can finally start with a solid foundation. And on another video, I'm going to go into exactly how to do that. It's not rocket science. It's just that the banksters can't get rich by raping all of us. You don't realize that 90% of the money you pay in federal income taxes goes to pay the interest on an artificial debt. The currency should be being created via the Constitution through our Treasury Department, okay, at no interest. But it's not. It's being created via the Federal Reserve, which is no more federal than Federal Express, so that these banksters can take and make millions and billions and even trillions of dollars. When it's exposed, it's going to go down as the biggest scam in the history of mankind. And history will frown upon all these greedy banksters. We're getting close to the point where the silent majority out there is going to take America back. Okay, but in the meantime, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And so you need to position yourself by getting into precious metals. Now, I happen to be involved in some business opportunities that I think, from one angle or another, if you want to collect coins and build a residual income, ISN, International Silver Network, is a great company. I did my research. It's the best MLM out there. Just launched in 2011. I'd be happy to share with you more information. On my website, you can get more information. Now, if you don't like the idea of collectible coins or using a business angle, there's another program I'm in, and basically you're buying your bullion, your coins or your bullion at wholesale. Okay, and I'm talking true wholesale, cheaper than you're going to get it on any of the, Monexes or whatever on the internet or eBays. And for my people that are in my business, my friends and my family, I basically just give it to you at wholesale, the same cost that I'm getting it for. I just encourage you, whether you go through me or not, start converting your paper money into silver while you still can, because that manipulation that is now ended is creating an incredible opportunity. And my other videos, I talk about the physical ratios and so on. This one's getting a little long now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off now, but you might want to look at some of my other videos on my blog, which at isncoinsbusiness.com. You can jump on there. I've got some really nice videos and stuff on there, some that I've made myself, others that I pulled off YouTube. And also it's going to tell you more about the business opportunity with ISN Coins, which is an incredible opportunity. And that way you can feel good about what you're doing. You're helping people put silver away, convert their paper, which is becoming worthless, on its way to worthless, into an asset. So anyway, Eric Patton, once again, I thank you very much for your time, and I would like to think that whether you go through me or not, that you'll start taking this seriously and getting your paper money converted to silver to protect your purchasing power for you and your family. So at this point, I'll invite you to give me a call if you want to discuss your situation and how to get you and your family in a better position. I can be reached at 858-705-2487, or once again, you can jump on my blog at isncoinsbusiness.com, or you can just click the link below. If you like my video, please give me a like. I appreciate that. I'll catch up with you on the next video. You have a good one.